I discovered I was the other woman, so I dumped him. Yes. Yes. You know what else is yes? This comes from the r/OKstorytime subreddit.
Yes!
I hope I get this all out coherently, but here goes nothing. And please keep in mind that this was my first relationship after leaving a 7-year-long harmful relationship. I would never accept this kind of treatment in my life again. I, 26 female at the time, had just started a new job where I worked in the same facility as my mother, but for a different company. By the way, this comes from Illustrious Trash 85. And if you want to submit your own stories to have them read just like this one, go to the r/OKstorytime subreddit. There was definitely a very heavily male-dominated environment, and being a new woman, I garnered a lot of unwanted attention when I first started. By no means do I think I am exceptionally attractive. I think it had more to do with me being new and being pretty, but not so attractive that I was unapproachable. I am also usually a very professional person and had never dated a coworker at the time. Out of the men that would go out of their way to make conversation with me, one did stand out. Let's call him Steve. Now, Steve was very sweet at the time. What started out with him bringing me drinks and snacks whenever we had a break quickly became him passing me sweet little handwritten love notes whenever he saw me in the hall. I was absolutely smitten with this man. Steve was everything I wanted in a partner, the antithesis of my ex. He did not smoke, drink, or gamble, and seemingly had no vices. After speaking with him more, I found out that he had been in a relationship for 10 years with his then girlfriend. He tried telling me all the same things that they always say. Neither of them wanted to be in the relationship, but felt obligated to stay because they had moved here from their home state together. That she didn't appreciate him, but his mom liked her and he didn't want to upset his mother, etc. I was quick to cut it off, and I let him know that while I really liked him and wanted more, I was not a homewrecker. So, okay, so he is in a relationship at the time. There we go. Super certified. He accepted this, and we would talk when we saw each other at work, both cut off outside communication. About a month later, he texted me and told me that he could not get me out of his head and had broken things off with his girlfriend so that way we could try and see where this could go. I stupidly believed him, and I allowed him to take me out on a date, after which we had our first intimate encounter, some spicy sleep. We were inseparable from that point on. Steve showered me in gifts. When he was at my place, he would dote on me. He would do my dishes, massage my feet, and have food delivered to my house when I was feeling sick or tired. If I was short on my rent or was just very close with my bills, he would send me money without asking. But at the time, I had been trying to scrape my life back together after my harmful ex made sure that I left with nothing when we separated. Steve was known for putting in a lot of overtime at work and loved to throw his money around. He would even go out of his way to impress my mother by making sure she always had extra help at work and even learning phrases from her language. My mother is foreign and English is her second language. Looking back at things now, I do realize that he was love bombing me, but at the time, it felt like I was finally getting the affection I had been so starved of in my previous relationship. Of course, everything seemed perfect, and with months of us starting a relationship, we began talking about getting married and starting a family. I think this is when he started to feel more comfortable with exerting control over my life. Friends from work began to notice how close we were getting and would express that they believed Steve was still with his previous partner. When I brought those concerns to Steve, he would dismiss those concerns for me as jealousy or simply say that the men at work were trying to separate us so that way they could have their chance at me. Over the next few months, he would isolate me from my friends and family whenever possible. I am super socially active person, but had joined a friend group for every niche hobby. Steve did not approve of this, and after I started attending group gatherings, he would ignore me as a punishment for not respecting his wishes. I was not allowed to go out with my friends if booze was involved, and he was not present, regardless of whether or not I was drinking. Any attempt at socialization without him present was met with stonewalling as punishment for me not respecting him as a man.
Sir, you are acting like a baby.
Correct. I ended up withdrawing a lot from my friends in order to keep the peace in our relationship. About a year into our relationship, I woke up one day to text messages from a random number. This included intimate pictures I had sent to him and a text that read, "How did you like screwing my man?" It was Steve's ex-girlfriend, hereon referred to as girlfriend number one. I tried to remain calm, but let her know that while I could sympathize with how much she had to be struggling with such a long relationship ending, her somehow hacking into his phone was inappropriate, and if she attempted to distribute my photos, I would press charges against her. And after a little back and forth, she realized that I had no idea that they had never actually broken up. Over the next few hours, we compared calendars, text messages, and came to the conclusion that not only had he been sleeping with both of us, sometimes on the same day, but he had also also bought us the same Christmas and Valentine's Day presents and was using excessive amounts of overtime to explain any away time he was gone home for too long. It turned out that some of the love notes that he wrote to me were written off of her work notepad. Steve was also using girlfriend number one's car to come visit me.
What?
As she had worked from home since the vid and did not often need it. Not only that, but it came to light that the first day we had gone on a date and been intimate was when girlfriend number one had been in their home state at a family member's funeral. This explained why that had been the only time that we ever spent the night at his house, because it was the only time she was gone. I had never thought to question why we always stayed at my place. At the time, it seemed like it made the most sense because the building where we worked at was in the town that I lived in, and his home was about 30 minutes away and in the next town over. On Valentine's Day, Steve had spent the previous night at my house, leaving early in the morning under the guise that he had volunteered to go into work early that day. I know what you're thinking. This man had to be so hot or swinging a baseball bat. But in all honesty, he was a tall, average-looking guy, but with a nice smile. The bar was just in the molten center of the earth at this point. The more we fleshed out the truth, the more horrifying it became. I was not the first woman that she had caught him with. Hell, I wasn't even the third woman. Steve had done this to her many times, apparently. I offered to block him, but she asked me not to and told me to let her know if he reached out to me again. I offered my apologies to her, but if I'm being honest, I was devastated too. Up until this point, I convinced myself that this was the man I was going to start a family with and that we could grow old together someday. He did not reach out to me after this, as girlfriend number one had confronted him with the proof of his infidelity. When we crossed paths at work, he would avoid eye contact with me or just go around to the opposite direction. This went on for a few weeks while I passed away inside a little bit every time I saw him. Even knowing how much he lied to me, I still missed him so much, and compared to the abuse of my last relationship, the lies seemed less and less harsh in my mind. I was in love with this man, and it felt like there was no way I could ever lose someone like this again. Eventually, he started shooting me longing looks in the hallway. Oh no. Or he would find excuses to come into the area by my office so that way I would notice him. At one point, Steve left a little note on my desk apologizing for hurting me, but begging for another chance.
All right.
He left a little note.
We get HR involved now, dude.
Yes.
It's time for HR. Where's
Yes.
Christian? Where's Christian? We have HR duties.
He claimed that girlfriend number one and him had split for good this time, I guess, and that she had moved back to their home state. He wanted to work things out and was willing to do anything for a second chance. I had to explain what happened to my mom at some point, which only made things worse for me. My mother's very old school and really only saw all the support he had offered me over the last year. My father was not supportive and she struggled financially to raise me. To her, the best possible thing was for me to have a partner that could provide me with a comfortable life. She encouraged me to give him another chance and told me that he is a human and obviously loved me very much if he was willing to throw away a relationship of a decade away from me. After the prodding from my mother, I ended up giving him another chance.
No!
Stupid of me, I know, with the insistence that we now had an open phone policy and we would share locations with each other at all times, which I admittedly rarely checked, and we would spend time in his home too, so I'd be assured that he was not hiding anyone at the home. At first, he was just as loving as before, but quickly I began to notice suspicious behavior from him again, constant overtime, placing his phone down, nights where he insisted that he couldn't come over, and whispers at work. It drove me insane until finally one day, a coworker sat me down and told me that another woman from work had been calling their department looking for him. When questioned why, she quickly made an excuse and hung up. Well, this was enough for me to put a plan into action to confirm my suspicions. So one night, he called me after he got off work and told me he had to cancel our plans last minute because his friend in my town needed him to work on his car. I watched in real time as his location showed him driving straight home and not to his friend's house. I decided to ask him if I could spend the night with him after he was done helping his friend. He insisted that this wouldn't be possible as he didn't know what time he would be home and it would likely be very late. So I waited about 30 minutes after he said this and texted him back, if you're at your friend's house, then whose car is parked in your driveway? I, in fact, did not actually waste my time driving the 30 minutes to his house, but I already knew it was happening. Opie was calling the shots. This is remote work, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
This is the definition of remote work. Within seconds, he was calling me over and over again, sending me a flurry of messages, begging me to please pick up and telling me that it was just a friend from work. I told him to cut the crap and that I was not stupid. He admitted that he had been intimate with this woman, but swore it was only the first time. Sure, fat chance of that. I mean, bro, this man is...
Gotta love the stupid logic of like, well, what if I tell her that it only happened this one time right
Dude.
now? Maybe she'll forgive me.
I told him to never speak to me again and sent him a photo of every love note he ever wrote me in my grill. He begged me to talk to him again. All the while, he was still with girlfriend number 3. It did not take long for his coworkers to find out that I had dumped him, and the dogs came running. He was furious when he found out that one of his coworkers had asked me out on a date and that I had accepted. This coworker was the definition of tall, dark, and handsome, and was well known for keeping to himself. Steve called me while I was on my way to this date and insisted that I come over so that way we could talk. I coldly told him I had plans, hung up, tired of you, Steve,
Yeah.
and I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, okay? He called me over and over again, sending me text after text, asking how I could do this to him and that he loved me so much. After my date was over, I finally texted him back at 2 a.m. saying, "It's okay, baby. Now we're even. You screwed one of your coworkers, and now so have I." He absolutely blew up on me, calling me heartless, asking how I could betray him, claiming that I could so easily give up on him. Absolute nonsense. Yes, OP. That is absolute nonsense. I made it a point over the next few weeks to always have my hair and makeup done. I wore tighter clothes that showed off my figure.
Ooh. Oh my god. Ooh.
Groovy.
Oh my god.
And went out of my way to be overtly friendly to anyone, everyone, and loudly giggle at everyone's jokes whenever he was near. Not long after that, I started casually seeing one of my friends from another department within a month of confirming that I had moved on. Steve and girlfriend number 3 had gotten married in a rush ceremony, and he would try to flaunt their lifestyle at me. By the way, if you guys want to hear, insane stories just like this one for your absolute listening pleasure, go to iHeart, Apple, Spotify, and search OK Storytime, because we got 2,000 episodes of this goodness. Eventually, I left that job for another opportunity. From what I've heard, girlfriend number 3, now wife of Steve, has since been arrested. She found evidence of him cheating on her, absolutely lost her crap on girlfriend number 4.
Phenomenal.
Dude!
Oh my god.
At this point, this was all several years ago. I've had a few different relationships in that time, and I am now peacefully single. If you have made it this far, thank you for reading. I apologize for lengthy story. Don't apologize. And ask you to not judge me too harshly. I was just a broken person, desperate to be loved.
Yeah.
Now I love myself enough not to settle for someone who would love me any less than how I deserve.
Exactly.
And I think we need to just, we kind of already said it, but it's like OP was coming from a very, very, very bad relationship before this, right?
Right.
And it's like that person lowering her self-esteem, self-love, everything. That's where she was literally like, oh, well, it's like not as bad, and her, like, it warps your whole reality, and she was like, we're all on our journey and all learning. So
Yeah. When she got love bombed,
she
so
got
it's
love.
like,
Yes.
so to her, it's like, oh my God, my dream's coming true. It's like, this is what I've been waiting for. And then, this person, then it's like, and now I have you under my control. I caught my boyfriend paying other women he claimed to look down on.
Excuse me?
That's an interesting way to go about that. I met Alex on an online dating site sometime last fall. Normally, I have a strict 5-year age limit, but boredom and curiosity got the better of me, so I swiped right on him, expecting nothing more than a few entertaining exchanges. By the way, this comes from user Your Poison Tonic.
Oh,
I know
no
you're here
kidding.
today. And if you want to submit your own stories and have them read on the stream just like this, go to the r/OKstorytime subreddit. To my surprise, the conversation didn't fizzle out like most do. He was sharp, grounded, and despite the age difference, carried himself with a sense of maturity I found refreshing. He came off as a well put together blue-collar kind of guy, someone who actually wanted to build a future, not just chase fleeting fun. After a few weeks of talking and light flirting, we decided to meet up. Our first date wasn't exactly traditional. I invited him half-jokingly to a bar night I had planned with coworkers and their partners. I expected him to politely decline, but he surprised me again by agreeing to come. That night, I waited anxiously at the bar, At one point, someone vaguely familiar approached me, and I had a split-second panic, thinking I'd been catfished. Thankfully, it wasn't him, and when Alex finally walked in, he was even cuter than his pictures. Ooh. He got along effortlessly with my friends and even recognized a few from high school. Coming from a large city, it felt surreal how small the world could seem. We played bar games, danced and laughed, and it ended up being one of the best first dates I'd had in a long time. When he drove me home that night, we had a deeper conversation about our values, goals, and what we wanted from life. I had already told him I planned to move back to the city at the end of 2025 once my lease ended. Of course, he said the classic line, "Maybe I'll give you a reason to stay."
Oh, smooth, boy.
With a laugh, I rolled my eyes and told him we shall see. Over the next month, we kept seeing each other. Dates, gym workouts, and bedroom chemistry included. From the start, he was clear about wanting something monogamous. I, on the other hand, was hesitant. I hadn't been in a serious relationship in over 3 years, and only someone willing to put the work in with me would be worth changing that. My hesitation mostly stemmed from a couple of red flags I wish I hadn't ignored. Alex had a history of crazy exes. One left him for a client after starting an OF. Another one of his exes was apparently bipolar and ran back to her ex. I gave him the benefit of the doubt since the history sounded messy. Youth and poor choices happen to the best of us, and those relationships happened when he was heavily into the nose clams. About a month in, an old fling of his caught wind of our relationship after I tagged him in a post. She publicly called him a hypocrite for never allowing her to tag him in posts, and threw a few not-so-subtle jabs at my appearance. I brushed it off, chalking it up to another bitter ex, and oddly enough, that drama led us to having the "what are we" talk. When I brought up being official, suddenly he wasn't so sure anymore whether he was ready for a commitment. Another huge red flag that I once again ignored. But after a few intense conversations, he sent me a Facebook relationship request, a running joke between us. Despite the warning signs, I eventually accepted. Things progressed quickly from there. Within a month of being official, he was staying over almost every other night. We had fallen into a comfortable routine of gym nights and shared dinners, and staying over just made sense. Eventually, after a near accident where he almost ran into a cop car due to falling asleep at the wheel, I started making space for him to stay over more permanently. But cohabitation brought new problems. He hated when I listened to spicy audiobooks or talked about my favorite reads. I understood not everyone enjoys steamy audio, but I expected the same courtesy I gave him when he went on about cars and niche music. He also hated when I played Storytime.
Throw him in the river! Get him out!
With a life jacket, especially ones involving toxic relationships. He said some of the stories brought up traumatic experiences. In hindsight, maybe he saw too much of himself in them and didn't enjoy seeing people like him being ripped apart verbally by the community. Despite the differences in hobbies, we tried to make it work. With the gym getting busier around the holidays, we started going less and less, and I could see this was stressing him out. As a peace offering, I went in on half and bought us a $300 home gym setup. This included a bench with a bar, a multifunction weight machine, and an elliptical off of Marketplace, a total steal. It improved his mood until it didn't. He started making backhanded comments about my weight gain thanks to quitting vaping and starting birth control, both things I did for him, and lack of motivation in joining. He would say things like, "You'll be so hot once you get into a routine. I won't be able to keep my hands off of you." When confronted, he swore it was a compliment. I wasn't convinced, especially since he started making more and more excuses to skip the horizontal mambo unless it was geared towards his spicy hobbies or worded as a quick pump and done. Around that time, I noticed sketchy phone behavior. He would angle his screen away or turn off the phone abruptly. Occasionally switch apps. He claimed he didn't notice he was doing that and that it was just habit, putting the phone down to give me attention. At one point, he even said he was hiding gifts he was researching for me since this was around the holidays. I let it go, hoping I was being paranoid since the first few times I would catch a glimpse at his screen, he would be doing something innocent like talking to the boys or scrolling through funny reels. For a while, things seemed okay again. He even got more transparent with his phone use. Eventually, I brought up what would happen when my lease ended. I suggested we rent together Something practical since it was too soon for home ownership, plus impossible in this economy, considering he was already living with me and he had expressed many times how he wanted a place with a garage for his cars. I figured this was a reasonable compromise rather than extending my lease. He acted surprised and made a snarky comment that I must be really sure he was what I wanted. He saw the look of disbelief on my face, and before I could fully ask if this wasn't what he wanted, he quickly amended his statement and agreed it made sense. Still, the hesitation lingered, and I tried to bring it up a couple more times after to make sure he was all right with it. I even reassured him that if things didn't work out, we could work it out civilly and I could always resume my plan to move to the city. Things then started unraveling further. Intimacy continued to wane from spicy to lackluster. His motivational gym comments returned, and I told him how undesirable they made me feel. He blamed it on stress and financial anxiety, and always reassured me that I wasn't to blame. I always tried being understanding since I was also burnt out and fed up with my current work situation and the long, cold winter. I was hoping once spring came, we could get out and things could return to how they were at the beginning of our relationship. In late January, he reconnected with an old female friend who had just left a harmful relationship. He said she'd cut off all male friends during that time, but now that she ended things, she was back trying to reconcile with her friends. I don't mind female friends, but I evaluate them based on behavior. Yes! He had other female friends he would talk to occasionally, but unlike them, something about this one rubbed me the wrong way. She would invite him over to smoke and even asked him for help moving. Yet I was never explicitly included. When I brought that up, he claimed it was an open invitation since she didn't know me and that we'd get along if we simply met. Still, it felt off since his other friends always made it clear they would love to meet me. I didn't prohibit him from helping her move, but instead reminded him he was already complaining about the list of things he needed to get done. He agreed, and instead we spent the weekend working on his cars and helping his mother on the farm. What?
Cool activities, at least.
Okay, he's like a car guy and he's a farmhand.
Yeah, I mean that's the only things I've liked so far.
More than once, I found him taking long phone calls with her from his car, saying she was venting. He insisted on keeping her confidence and that it was easier to just finish the phone call in the car. I knew better. He was fine talking to his other female friends around me, even when they were oversharing about their spicy sleep life. I should have ended things there, but he always knew just what to say to de-escalate things, and I didn't want to come off as controlling or pushy since everyone has different boundaries. Personally, my friends understand any tea shared with me will also be shared with any partner, and in turn, I gave them the same liberties. We had a conversation about it, and he promised to try to be more open about his conversations with this girl, but without going into details that would betray her trust. At one point, he shared with me a funny quote-unquote conversation they had, and I remember alarm bells going off in my head. I don't remember the details, but I remember pressing him for more and him shutting down. Next day, I asked again for more clarification, and all of a sudden, the details of the conversation changed to paint himself in a better light. I pointed out the inconsistencies in his story, but again, he had an answer for everything and even tried showing me the text exchange, but I politely refused. At this point, I think I knew things were over if they didn't change, but I was holding out hope that things would get better once it finally started getting warm out again. On top of that, I had made a commitment with his mom to help at an event about a month out that would also benefit me in the end. By February, his moods continued to fluctuate despite my attempts to try to ease his stress and work things out. Then, one day, the day of the event, I walked in on him pleasuring himself in the bathroom. I wasn't mad about that. It happens. But I tried to start a conversation about it, curious about what kind of spice he was into. He brushed it off, saying it was, I'm just on the hub, and that he already exited out of it and that it was, just the usual stuff. But he felt uncomfortable talking about it. We joked about it a bit, and I let it go, even though it hurt a bit that he was doing that behind my back. A small part of me wanted to go through his phone right then, but anxiety and better judgment got the better of me. Not to mention, we had to finish getting ready to work the event with his mom that day. But that night, the feeling wouldn't leave me. And 2 nights later, I did the thing I swore I wouldn't do. I went through his phone. I started with the conversation with his female friend. Most of it was normal yapping, but I came across a part about me. He'd been venting to her about our relationship, calling me crazy and paranoid, but that it was probably his fault since he was being distant and snappy with me. He told her he had second thoughts about renting together and didn't know how to bring it up to me. He also expressed how he would like to go and smoke with her, but that I wouldn't be up for it. I'm 31 and quit the devil's lettuce ages ago, and going to smoke with a young single mother of 2 didn't sound like a fun way to pass an evening. She joked she was the one in a controlling relationship now, and he didn't even try to defend me. Worse, he kept asking her to call him. So much for her being the one always reaching out and calling him. I almost woke him up right then and there. While I knew what I did was wrong, I figured if his mood came from a place of fear, there was still a chance we could talk things out. Stupid, I know. It was almost enough to make me forget about the bathroom incident, but before waking him, I got a nagging feeling to check further. In his opened apps, I saw he had Twitter. I don't use that app, so I was curious and I clicked it, and that's when everything unraveled further.
Here we go.
Oh my Lanta.
Let's see.
It opened up on OF. His DMs were filled with spicy creators, femboys, spicy workers, you name it. His Twitter was also filled with nothing but femboy spice workers. So he had been sending these individuals pictures, buying their content, flirting with them. All of this was a huge betrayal, especially since I stopped liking book talk thirst traps in the beginning of our relationship, since he mentioned they made him uncomfortable. Up until this moment, I'd tried to stay level-headed and compassionate in the relationship. Too compassionate. My Latina side finally won out, and that's when I lost it. I yelled, shoved him awake, and confronted him. He stammered. Thinking back, the look of shock and terror on his face was a thing of beauty. He tried putting off giving me answers, feigning confusion, but I gave him the ultimatum that he either leaves now for his dad's or he explains further, and I would allow him to crash on the couch until morning. He claimed that it was a compulsive issue, a problem he could not conquer, and said I'd give him the wake-up call he needed, quite literally, apparently. He admitted he was embarrassed about the role play he'd requested from the models and was ashamed to show me the messages. I didn't care about that. I just wanted the truth on how long it had been going on behind my back. According to him, it was only for a month or 2, but I highly doubt it was only that recent. He said he didn't view it as cheating since he didn't respect spicy sleep workers, so it wasn't emotional.
Yeah, so you're really helping yourself out there.
Buddy needs therapy so bad.
Dude.
Buddy has so much deep-seated shame about what he actually is into that he can't even admit that that's just what he wants. He's like, actually, I'm doing this because I hate them, right? So isn't that okay? I don't respect them at all. They disgust me. Really, buddy?
Can I just say, if you want to pack your fart box, more power to you. In a healthy way. Come on.
John,
it's okay. It's okay.
John,
Why do we gotta be ashamed? Why do we have to be ashamed?
I agree, though.
It's okay.
I fully agree.
It's okay.
If you're trying to pack out your fart box, that's not my business.
Yeah, see, that guy gets it, right?
That was right.
That's it right there.
Except he's on the floor. He's been pushed out of the bed. He's
that's
like,
live POV footage. Yeah, so it's okay. Don't be insecure and then do all this BS and cheat and all this stuff.
It took him about another hour to work up the courage to open his phone and show me his profile. I saw how much money he had spent over the years, which made me laugh since he always complained about never having enough money. Now I could see why. He moved out the next day. I admit I was petty and went on a bit of a rampage. I chucked all his stuff in a pile for him to pack up and destroyed every sentimental item I had gifted him and the few he had given me and threw it on a pile of his things. I didn't destroy anything important, just small things that had meaning. He realized what I did and was upset. It made him realize just how many small things I did for him throughout our 6 months together. I also reached out to his female friend and told her about what I found out and how he manipulated and gaslit me for the past few months and essentially made me out to be the bad guy. She didn't even bother responding. Later, I found out she immediately messaged him and then proceeded to invite him over that very night.
Oh.
Of course he accepted. His excuse, I wanted to see if you were right about her hitting on me. She didn't even try anything. That's gotta be one of the dumbest things ever.
Dude.
Like, I'm trying to, like, my mind wants to come up with an example of that's like a geopolitical, like a World War II reference or something, but it's not
Like a
working.
fireside
it's not
chat
working
kind
fast
of
enough.
thing. Like,
Yeah, it's another FDR reference.
we got him. I made one before, but totally bombed.
Oh, it did win
Totally
over? I did
bombed.
not catch it.
It's all
I did
good.
not
It's
catch
all
it.
good.
I don't know if he really is this daft or he thinks I am. She never replied to me, and when he asked her about it, she responded, I have enough of my own problems to deal with. I don't want to deal with someone else's.
Have fun having more problems for yourself then.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Despite my better judgment, we stayed in touch for a while after the breakup. He tried saying all the right things. He cut ties with his female friend after realizing she was just a user who didn't even care about what he was going through. He apologized and tried putting in the effort I wanted when we were together, but I was done. My heart was no longer in it. He moved into an apartment at his job, only to move back in with his dad weeks later when the rent turned out higher than expected. I started dreading his calls, especially since it would interrupt my new routine of watching my favorite live podcast.
Let's go.
Yes!
Yeah.
I became cold and snarky. I was giving him the same treatment he'd once given me. Eventually, mid-argument, I told him it wasn't going to work. He ignored the comment and kept talking, which is typical. After that, I started finding excuses to cut calls short, mentioned a couple more times that things weren't going to work, and started responding less and less to texts. Every time I brought it up, he found ways to avoid talking about it. So I did the petty thing. After going unread for a day, I sent him a final message, thanking him for breadcrumbing the conversation into non-existence, and then blocked him on everything, or so I thought. I forgot about Instagram.
Oh no.
He reached out there, said he was just giving me space since I had said things weren't working and that family drama had kept him distracted. I told him off one last time, said I was too grown to be avoiding difficult conversations, and if his family handles conflict like he does, they're all screwed. And then I blocked him again.
That's like savagely funny.
Yeah, that is a great final message.
Yeah, right.
But this right here never has to be your final message that you receive from us, because if you go to your podcast platform of choice, you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this. I'm talking Spotify. I'm talking iHeartRadio. I'm talking Apple Podcasts. Literally wherever you listen to podcasts, just search OK Storytime, and you can have every episode almost we've ever made. So, I mean, that sounds pretty good, right?
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool?
Pretty cool.
Go check that out. We do have a little bit more story left. Do we have any final thoughts here, fellas?
I mean, just sometimes people be sneaking in there, and then they suck. It just happens.
Sometimes it takes a little time for it to be revealed. But honestly, like the deceit and is all bad. I would not, don't definitely not get back with this guy.
Yeah.
That guy's the a-hole.
Yes.
But it like comes from like a very human place of I think this guy is clearly into something that he himself doesn't know how to reckon with.
Yeah.
Or he's kind of ashamed of.
Yes.
He's like, well, I don't respect, like he's got a lot going on psychologically about his own spicy proclivities.
Yeah.
That he's got to work through.
I think it's a great call out because like, hey, you don't deserve to feel like bad about or feel bad about yourself.
Right.
And by feeling bad about yourself, well, look what you're doing to the people around you, the people that you supposedly love and care for. So it's like, hey, accept yourself. It's all good. And then good things will go back into it. It's a beautiful, virtuous system on the other side.
Yeah.
It's one big word for this guy. Shame.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ring a ding ding ding.
He was just shame.
Shame.
Yeah, he's ashamed. He's ashamed of himself, and it's causing all kinds of problems for everyone around him. Yeah. So, but good on you for getting out of there, Poison. 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
I mean, it was a giveaway when he wasn't into us.
That's an automatic, just like, how do we get him in prison?
What are you
as fast
doing?
as
Yeah,
possible?
there's like another color that's even redder than red, and that's the color of that flag.
How can you hate that?
Ooh.
Look at
It's
that.
ultra red.
How do you hate that?
You're making me think of my high school bully.
Bully? I'm gonna bully you if you bully my boy.
I didn't even really get bullied that hard. He just had one nickname for me that was brutal.
What was it?
I can't say it. I would never give that ammo out for free. I have to be paid a lot of money to put that out there like that. Let's finish this story. And that, finally, was that. I know it was wrong solely putting the distance on him since I was the one detaching myself, but at that point, I honestly didn't care. Whenever I think back on it, I get upset for being so forgiving for so long. I gave him repeated chances and let him disrupt the peace I worked on for years to achieve. In the end, it wasn't even about the emotional cheating, but the emotional manipulation constantly denied. And that is the end of that story. Yeah, dude. That guy's a manipulator.
Yup.
Because he's manipulating his own stuff too.
He's a manipulator and a manipulator.